So over the course of the past couple years, we've heard quite a bit about the Final Fantasy VII remake, and it's been a couple trailers and a few things here and there. And this year we got a definitive release time frame. I believe it's a release time frame. I think it's March of next year. It's going to come out in multiple parts, and it looks pretty good. I'm not going to lie. It looks pretty damn phenomenal. I think it's clearly going to be worth the wait, and I'm on board 100%. But this article really cracked me up. This is coming out of Eurogamer, where effectively what we're seeing here is Square Enix has an ethics department, and it told the developers of Final Fantasy VII Remake to restrict Tifa's chest, effectively making kind of a decree about ethical titties. I mean, we're well past the Lara Croft age of the mid 1990s. Now we're into restrictive booby mode, which feels very odd coming out of Japan that something involving breasts would be restricted. You figure that given how things come out of that particular country, the likelihood of them, making a slider and jiggle effects would be probably more, more up the alley. But anyway, before we jump into it here, this is what Tifa looked like originally. Okay, this is Tifa originally. We can see a design here. I mean, clearly it's not sexy. It's not fap worthy. It's not something you would clearly get down to. Although I'm sure people have, right? I'm sure people have over the years, because you look at some of the cosplay that came out, right? Clearly, some of it is fap worthy. Some of it is, dear God, why? But, it exists nonetheless. And of course, this is the final look in the game. This is what they've been restricting it down to, giving her a more defined costume and restrictive in a couple of ways. And we could take a look at what they're saying here in a second, but we can see the evolution of the character. And it looks fine to me, for one. I'm not a diehard Final Fantasy VII stan that I'm just like, what do you mean? There's a black bra. Japan. It doesn't mean anything to me. Anyway, so it says here that Square Enix has an ethics department, a new interview has revealed, and it advised Final Fantasy VII Remake team on development. Now, when an ethics team comes in to start kind of giving decrees about game development, I do find that to be a very interesting, very fascinating, and all around a big kind of no-no. And I know predominantly we would see this in the East, which generally doesn't tend to care about the sensibilities of the West. I mean, oftentimes when we start seeing certain things coming out of certain types of people with certain political leanings here in the United States, or just in the Western world in general, about the representation or the design or boob armor or anything like that, oftentimes the joke goes back, Japan doesn't care about that. Japan is in it for the proper storytelling or some such nonsense. But either way, they never really care about it. They never really give much of a crap. That's kind of like the reason why a lot of people who are anti-censorship in this particular art form are very much loving of the East and Japan in specific for doing this. And here we find out that Square has an ethics team. And ethical titties is now a conversation that has been done. I'm still trying to fathom the words for it, but I would argue that in essence, this kind of feels like the peak ethics debate in gaming in 2019. Loot boxes be damned. It's all about the ethical booby. Anyway, specifically, the ethics department told the remake developers to restrict Tifa's chest, according to comments made by director Tetsuya Nomura in an interview with Famitsu. The original Final Fantasy VII character models, created for PS1, and are of course unrealistic. 20 years later, making highly detailed modern characters for PlayStation 4 threw up new issues. Which I get, because they're wanting to update it. If you go back and look at Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, I mean, like, they updated it for that. The movie made no damn sense if you've never played the game, or finished the game in my case, but it was still a fun movie to watch and it looked beautiful. So yeah, they know how to make the characters look good. But he says here that it was necessary to restrict her chest. For the developers, modernizing Tifa's design meant creating an athletic look, complete with abs, while retaining her iconic white tank top and black mini skirt outfit. But as ethics department pointed out, Tifa shouldn't look unnatural during action scenes, so her chest was restricted. This resulted in black underwear and a fitted tank top for the remake. So basically, it's not that like they have downsized her chest, that they have given her a breast reduction surgery. It's no, it's a really fitted sports bra. It's really fitted, super fitted. It was something that if it were to appear on our Bigger Than You Think, you would be impressed, is what I'm trying to say. And it makes sense why they would want to do that. But at the same time, why would you bring attention to it? Because now all the anti-censorship people are going to come out demanding Tifa's chest be bigger. And it's going to be Chestgate or Tifa Gate, or something is going to come from this, because reactionaries with little to do, little free time, are going to get so mad over this, because I can already see it. I can already see it happening. And if you don't believe me, did you not pay attention to pop culture at all in the past 7 years? But I mean, the image itself here looks perfectly fine. You know, she looks fine. As long as it doesn't impact the gameplay of the character, it's not an issue. I think the thing is, people more often than not, they want this. They want the lady on the right here. They want that particular design because that is the most fap-worthy Tifa. However, there might be some who prefer the larger look, who then would find themselves fapping to the one in the middle. And then the one on the left is more of a traditional look, I would say. And that's, you know, clearly probably more of what I think they're going for. Not going to lie, I'm still kind of partial to the one on the right. I am human. But the thing is, the character of Tifa over the span of the last 20 years and whatever, we're just going to bring that up there, over the last 20 years has become very sexualized. I even when looking up images for this particular video, I was like, Tifa, Final Fantasy VII, and it was a whole bunch of very sexualized fan art. So for 2 decades, this character has been something people have, well, paid tribute to. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why the ethics department came in and they're like, let's kind of tone that down a little bit. And it's also, if you think about it from Square Enix's perspective, they also own Crystal Dynamics. Crystal Dynamics did the Tomb Raider games, and they also scaled back Lara Croft's breasts to make them more natural for the design they were going for back in 2013's Tomb Raider reboot, and they kept that same aesthetic for the following 2 games. So it's not out of norm for this to be a thing, but I do find it interesting that the ethics department came out and they wanted it to be a thing, which tells me that they actually pay attention to the conversations online. They pay attention to the conversations on social media. They pay attention to outrage culture, and they know specifically who and what outlet would cause the most stink over unethical titties. And I think that's ultimately here what this whole thing is about. I think that's what is going on. So it's not the developers of the game that are at fault here. It is Square Enix and their desire to not anger the people who won't buy their damn game to begin with. I'm not saying, release the booby, but because I don't really care one way or the other, to be honest with you. I'll still play it. It looks like a lot of fun. I don't have any emotional connection to this character or her boobs, but look, the thing here, it looks fine. I mean, go back to this. She's got a chest, but it looks like a rhombus, I guess. It's just, it's a lot to the imagination, which is clearly what the guy in the middle here was trying to do. Anyway, your thoughts, your opinions, I want to hear them. How do you feel about this? Let me know down in the comments below. Should be fun. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.